enjoy sumptuous food, and it just took you somewhere, and as you were eating the food and experiencing the food, you moved away from there and you felt, oh, I feel brand new. It might be that you've been fellowshipping with friends and family and loved ones, and something happened in the midst of that. You had found yourself laughing, or you found yourself feeling one with that person or with the people that you were around, and there were suddenly no boundaries there, that you were there. You just felt brand new. There are so many ways in which you can feel brand new. It might be the jubilation that you have over some event that happened. It could be good sex. It could be all kinds of things that happened that afterwards it just felt just brand new. Anybody have that experience? Because this morning I want you to recall that. I want you to remember that, because we are, as I mentioned already, in a time of the year when people gather around and there's something that people are celebrating that somehow are saying that I feel brand new. And whether it's the resurrection event that so many of our friends in Christianity are celebrating and remembering that caused them to feel brand new, whether it's just the springtime that has come and we come outside and we see the places where the trees once were bare and now leaves are beginning to return and the grass is starting to go from brown to green again, and we hear the birds, unlike any other time of year, singing in the way that they do. I mean, even if it's really early in the morning, they still sing, and we have joy with that. The other morning I was listening while lying in bed to a bird that was just really just singing and singing and singing. And I said to myself, what are you singing about, bird? And then I heard some other birds off in the distance responding back and the singing back and forth that they had. But the jubilation that they were experiencing became my own jubilation, brand new. I think that as we move into an understanding of being brand new, there are, I think, maybe 3 ways for me that help us to become brand new and to feel brand new. The first way is through hope. Hope. I'm a hope dealer. I told you all a few weeks ago I had an inspiration about that, being a hope dealer, and I mentioned it one Sunday morning. I said I'm going to get a t-shirt, and my wife heard me and had a friend of ours to make this t-shirt for me, and I'm a hope dealer. But I remember a quote one time saying, when you have no hope, you don't see past today. And I'm not willing to give up on hope. There's some people who feel like hope is there's something, some deficit or something in the process of hope, all of those things. I'm not willing to. I don't yet stand in that place. I'm a hope dealer, as I said to you before. I'm in that way. That's just me. My blood type is B positive. And I just cannot help but to have hope. But I think that as we have hope, that for me, what hope encapsulates and what hope represents, it is an understanding and a trust in the universe, that the universe is kindly dispositioned toward us. Morton Kelsey uses that as his definition of faith. That it is believing that the universe is kindly intentioned toward us. And I believe that. I believe that despite all of the things that we might see and hear and all of the rhetoric and things that are going out there, I still do not give up on the fact that we live in a place where we can have hope, and we ought to have hope. When you have no hope, you don't see past today. And sometimes it can be just a very small thing that can bring us to begin to have hope. Sometimes it may be, for me, listening to things like birds that are out there and hearing the birds sing. And despite whatever else might be going on in my life or in the life of people around me and all of that, just that little thing there can make all of the difference. Sometimes it's like being around children. and they're still playing. I remember on yesterday, we had an opportunity to go by a friend's house, and there were these 3 little girls that were just having the best time, just being kids. I mean, no agenda other than just playing with one another, doing some dress up, and having some other things that were a part of their day that just, I felt the joy at being in that moment, being able to experience that. I remember a few weeks ago, I made a post on Facebook about my neighbor's daughter who was running around in the yard with several of her friends, and they were playing German freeze tag and the hide and go seek and all of those games that many of us can remember from then. And I said there wasn't a cell phone in sight. They were just doing that, and that gives me hope. That despite us living in this high-tech, low-touch world that many of us find ourselves in today, there are still people who live in the moment and who still embrace the moment. And it's about having hope. And when we can do that, we can begin to know and to still hold on to the idea that we live in a place that is kindly intentioned toward us, that has our back, that loves us, that all of those things that we can experience about that hope. And hope helps me to feel brand new, to be brand new. The second element of feeling brand new or being brand new is expectation. Expectation. We don't see, what we see is not what we get. Sorry, Geraldine. Y'all remember Flip Wilson, who used to say, what you see is what you get, honey. What we expect is what we get. We're studying in our book study in our class this month and for a time now here at Open Heart, Shortcut to a Miracle, and it begins by talking about explaining quantum physics and quantum mechanics, and the idea that we have found while we were operating under the assumptions of Newtonian physics and there being just the material world that we can experience, this world of the quantum that has been opened up to us. One of the things that has began proving, and physicists and scientists and all of this are still kind of baffled and still trying to process all of this, but expectation can change things. You can have a form that is there and all of a sudden the person observing it by the observation and the expectation that is there that will change the dynamics and the energy and the physics of those things. And it's nothing new to many of us. We already know that by expectations we are able to change things. I remember long ago reading the story of a teacher who was given a dossier on all of the children that were in her class at the beginning of the school year. These were children that no other teacher wanted. These were children that were said to be not really teachable. These were children that were said to be a handful and more. And all of those things, and all of the other teachers would pass by her classroom shaking their heads and all of those things there. But at the end of the school year, they had outpaced all of the other students in their grade and all of the other students at that school. And they were wanting to know what her secret was. How could she take the same students no one else could do anything with and nothing could happen with them? How could she transform them into being as high performers as they were? And she said, because I let them know I expected them to be their best. Rather than expecting them to be unteachable and troublemakers and all of those things, she expected the best from them. And that's what she got. What we expect from life is what we'll get. When that becomes our dominant thought, that's what we get. If we expect people to be unfriendly, if we expect people to be in a place where they are out to get us, or the world not to be safe, then that's what we begin to see and to experience. So when we begin to expect good things, when we begin to expect a sense of wholeness and of truth, that's what we will get. And a hope dealer is going to tell you that. It's what you expect is what you get. So because we have powerful expectations, that's what we can experience and receive. And I'm not willing to give up on hope, and I'm sure not willing to give up on expectation. I expect the best, look for the best, find the best, experience the best. And if you come on with me this morning, we can be brand new. And then the third thing, I told you there were three things. There's hope, there's expectation, and then there is allowing. Allowing. Because you see, a part of expectation is, in New Thought, Ancient Wisdom, we have a term that's called the mental equivalent. The mental equivalent. And it's simply saying, I thought about it the other day, and I was thinking about this message and going through it in my mind and putting it together, and I thought about the mental equivalent, and that's a fancy sounding title, the mental equivalent. We can thank Judge Thomas Trower for that. But ultimately, the mental equivalent for me is about a vision. A vision. When we begin to see and to understand something, people that are creative know about this. They know about this. They will see something in their mind before it comes into reality or comes into manifestation. And when we can begin to see something, when we can begin to have a vision for things, when you look at a lot of artists who will talk about things, of, say we take a sculptor, or we take a painter, or we take someone else who's doing something creative, and they will tell you that they saw it in their mind's eye before it ever hit the canvas, before it ever was chiseled out of the granite or the stone, or before it was ever molded in the clay. Whatever it is, there was a vision, there was a mental equivalent, there was believing that it was possible. Many of the things that we have today that are in our lives, that we experience on a daily basis, that we just take for granted, it happened because someone had the mental equivalent, the vision for it, and that comes out of expectation, but then it moves into the idea of allowing it, because ultimately we know that as we continue to allow it to happen, there's so many people that I see that have hope. They have expectation for things, and then they get in their own way. I know nobody in this room I'm talking about. The people that are watching it. None of y'all get in your own way. None of y'all have your own doubts. None of y'all have or allow your inner conversation to interfere with what you said your intention was. Because you see, when we set what it is that we have, and we set up that whole idea of the mental equivalent, sometimes there's some people, not anybody in this room, that will talk themselves out of it. That will, on the one hand, say, well, I can see this happening for me, but... And I don't know about you, but I really sometimes get a little impatient dealing with yes butters. People who will say yes, but. And one of the reasons why I get impatient with them is because I'm a yes butter too. Like I'm a people too, I'm a yes butter too. But getting in the way. Not being congruent with the idea that if we have set this, if we have the hope, and we have the expectation and the mental equivalent that comes from that expectation, then we move to a place where we begin to allow it, we begin to see it, we begin to feel it, we begin to talk in that way. Talk as if it's already done. We begin to move and to walk in that way as if it's already been done. We have that understanding, and we act as if. And then we know that there's a part. I remember the song that I like to listen to all the time. Al Jarreau has a song, and it says, "Wait for the magic. I know, a lot of times people say, y'all, the thought ancient wisdom folks, y'all are all into the woo and all of that. But I still believe in the magic. I'm still willing to wait for the magic to allow, because I still like to be delighted and surprised by the universe. And there are occasions where that happens. I think about yesterday, Emma and I were rushing around one of her sisters had a birthday party, and she had it at our house, and we were hosting. I was in front of the grill all day, and we were doing things, and we needed to go and get something. And there was a person she'd been trying to get in touch with for something that she needed. And she thought she had the phone number, been texting, calling, all of those things. None of that happened. And we had one last minute stop because we were going to go someplace else. I said, no, I think we ought to stop here and go there. We get out the car, and guess who's standing in the parking lot? Right there. Been trying for weeks. Boom. And all of us can share experiences like that. And a lot of times people say, oh, well, that was just coincidence and all of that. But we live in a universe of coincidences then. But when we set our intention, when we have hope and we have expectation that things are going to work, and then we allow it, we don't get in the way, we don't let the mind chatter and all of the doubt and the doubting Thomases and Thomasinas and all of the other people that come around and tell us, well, what about this? And that can't happen, and this is going to be an impossibility, and all of those things. But we somehow hold out, and we have the hope, we have the expectation, and we allow it in. We allow ourselves to be congruent in the way that we talk, because we know that it's already done. It's already done. We allow it. You all know one of my favorite examples of when we talk about prayer and spiritual mind treatment, and there's that stage in there where when we do the treatment, when we do the prayer, when we set the stage, and then we release, we let it be. And those days, in my old days, where I used to play some basketball, I never was a basketball star or anything like that, but I like to get out on the court with other people. And there are times when you shoot the ball and you feel it when you let the ball go. You don't even have to stay around to wait, because you already know, I'm just going to turn around and run down court, because you just know that you're going to hear that flat. All net. The shot went in. It's that feeling that comes from allowing, knowing that it's done. You hope beyond hope in such a way that it helps you to put it all together. And I may not be able to figure it all out right now. You don't need to figure it all out right now. What you do is I'm going to, this energy, this brand new energy that comes, because I looked at my hands, and they looked new. I looked at my feet, and they did too. Went on to talk about, I started to talk, and I talked the new talk, and I walked the new walk. That there was something that happened that made this person who wrote this hymn feel brand new. And what I invite you to do with me today is whatever it takes to feel brand new. Because I promise you that when you take the opportunity to feel brand new, life itself opens up for you. Life itself is available for you. Life itself begins to happen in ways you had not even seen nor imagined before. And you can shout to the world, I'm brand new. I'm brand new. I'm brand new. I'm brand new. And so it is. So it is.
first, and that is God. And as each of us embodies all that we have learned today, we take it in, we make it our own, and we simply live in those very truths. We give thanks for all who have participated today. We give thanks for the lesson, the affirmative reading, the centering moment, the beautiful songstress, and the good old brown liquor blues. Knowing as we move forward that yes, there is hope. No, it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. The birds are singing. It's beautiful. And I expect that life is good, that life is beautiful, life is wonderful. I expect the best. And I just allow that to be my experience. I step into that place where I just feel brand new. And as John says, new every moment. I release, I let go, and I let God, and so it is.